Alright, so over the past couple of years, working from home has gotten more and more popular to the point that a lot of people won't even consider taking a job unless it offers this as an option. And you know, what's not to love about rolling out of bed at 8:57 to start work at 9? And while that is a pretty sweet deal, working from the comfort of your own home does present a few obstacles, mainly how do you stay productive and healthy while staying home? So one solution that has been presented in light of these issues is the standing desk. And when these things were first getting really popular, people were making all kinds of claims saying that sitting was a new smoking and that these standing desks could do all sorts of things from boosting your productivity to even helping you lose weight. But I think with anything that gets this hyped, it's a good idea to take a step back and just see how much of what was being said is real and how much of it is just hype. So I've been using standing desks for the past roughly 4 years, and in this video we're going to be going over my experience using it and why it might not be the best choice for you. And I just want to say right off the bat that I really do enjoy standing desks, and I don't think I can ever go back to a regular non-standing desk. And if you feel the same by the end of this video, I'm going to have a little buying guide at the end with some tips and things to watch out for when you're looking to purchase your first desk at the end of the video. But before we get into that, I just want to say that I am not a doctor nor a medical professional of any kind. What I'm going to tell you is just based on my personal experience and should not be taken as medical advice. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. So I think a good place to start this off is to address that claim about weight loss first. And I mean, in its most basic form, the science of weight loss is pretty simple. If you burn more calories than you take in, you'll lose weight. And the idea is that standing burns more calories than sitting, therefore you'll lose some weight. And that definitely does make sense on the surface until you start to look at the actual numbers. So according to a study done by Harvard Health, standing on average will burn about 88 calories per hour, while sitting will burn about 80, netting you an extra 8 calories burned per hour, which granted is more than zero, but really isn't enough to make any kind of significant difference. So these aren't really likely to help you lose any weight, but that also doesn't mean there aren't any benefits. Sitting for prolonged periods of time has been linked to a whole host of health issues, with everything from muscular problems caused by static positions for a long time to vascular ones caused by blood pooling where it shouldn't. But what I find really interesting is that research seems to indicate that standing for a very long time can cause just as many issues as sitting for a really long time. And what really seems to have the most benefit is to frequently switch between the two positions. And having a convertible sit-stand desk enables you to do that during the workday. Now, personally, I will say that I haven't noticed a huge difference in back pain since getting a standing desk. But that could be because I'm already a pretty active person. I try to exercise around 60 to 90 minutes a day, but a lot of people don't have that much time to exercise. But having a standing desk has been pretty helpful for me when I've been sitting for a long period of time and I just start to feel stiff from sitting in the same position for a few hours. It's really nice to just be able to get up and stretch a little bit without having to leave my desk and put whatever I'm doing on pause. And while I definitely don't think that this should be an excuse to not exercise, I do think this is something that would be helpful for people who are a little bit less active during the day. Now, what I have noticed though is a definite increase in productivity since getting a standing desk. Again, it's not anything drastic, and I don't know if it's anything I can really quantify either, but a lot of the time, if I'm just sitting at a desk not moving for a long time, I can get a lot of mental fatigue. But something about standing up just gives me that second wind and really helps me get over that mental fatigue and work for a little bit longer. And I don't know the mechanism behind this or why it works or if it's all just in my head, but when I get that feeling of fatigue that comes from sitting down for a long time and I stand up, a huge rush of blood just comes to my head and all of a sudden I feel better. Again, I can't guarantee that you're gonna see the same benefits that I do, but it's been a big point of why I like them so much. Apart from that, there's a couple of things that I still wanted to mention, both pros and cons about standing desks that kind of fall into the lifestyle category, I guess. First is that cable management is about 1,000 times harder on a sit-stand desk than it is on a conventional stationary desk. Since the top moves up and down, you have to either attach everything wired to the top of the desk so it can just move with it, or you have to provide enough slack in the cable so that you can allow for the travel. And when you have as many cables as I do, it can get out of hand very fast. Also, to get a desk of similar quality to their stationary counterparts, standing desks are generally generally going to be a lot more expensive. Now, there are a lot more cheaper options for standing desks nowadays, and we'll talk about why you might want to spend a little bit more on a desk later, but generally standing desks are going to be a lot more expensive than a stationary one. One thing that is really nice about standing desks though is that if you're coming and going from your desk a lot, you don't have to waste a lot of energy sitting down only to get back up a few minutes later. And for someone lazy like me, you know, that's pretty nice. Also, because it's a height adjustable desk, you can adjust the height to your preference, whereas with a stationary desk, what you see is what you get. And given that all of us are different heights, it only makes sense that our desks need to be different heights as well. So let's say after hearing all that, you're willing to give standing desks a try and you're looking to purchase your first one. Well, after trying several different desks at several different price points, here are a couple of tips and things to watch out for when looking to get your first standing desk. And my first suggestion is just to get the best desk that you can that fits in your budget rather than just getting the cheapest one available. Because I do think that there are appreciable differences as you go up in price. But with prices ranging from the low hundreds all the way up to several thousand, what's the difference and why would you want to pay a little bit more for a table? So all the way at the bottom, you're going to find hand crank desks. And I think if that's all your budget allows for, then yeah, sure, go for it. But I think if your budget allows for it, I really do recommend that you find one that's electric. While the hand crank does work and technically does give you the functionality, it is going to be very cumbersome, and over time you're just going to get lazy and stop using it altogether. And at that point, why'd you pay the extra money for it? But even within electric standing desks, there's a couple of things that I would watch out for. First would be memory functions, and I would say a minimum of 2 would be really good. One for sitting and one for standing. Most electric desks, even the really nice ones, are pretty slow, so having these memory functions make it so that you only have to press the button one time and you can just wait for the desk to come up rather than holding your finger on the up or down arrow. Second is to make sure you have a good minimum height on the desk. A lot of the cheaper desks out there have a pretty tall minimum height, meaning that a lot of shorter people are gonna need footrests if they want to have proper ergonomics while using that desk, which isn't ideal. As far as maximum height goes, if you're unusually tall, you might have an issue with this, but as a fairly average 5'8" person, I've never even come close to needing to worry about this. Cheaper desks are also usually a lot louder and weaker than the more expensive ones, so if you're particularly sensitive to sound or have a very heavy setup, then that might be something to consider. But in terms of weight capacity, I think most normal people will never have to worry about this. And lastly, I would also try to avoid desks where the thicker part of the telescoping legs are on the top rather than the bottom. Generally, I think the biggest difference between a good expensive desk and a bad cheap one is going to be stability. And for whatever reason, a lot of the cheaper desks have the thicker portion of the leg on the top, which just exacerbates that issue. And on some of the really bad cheap desks out there, as soon as you place them at standing height, even just like typing can cause it to wobble a lot, and it's really annoying. But yeah, those are my thoughts after using standing desks for a couple of years and a couple of my tips for buying them. Hopefully you found it pretty helpful. Again, I'm not a doctor, don't take this as medical advice, just telling you my experiences. But if you watch this video and end up buying a standing desk or are thinking about buying one, let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.